time, I'm going to ask that you fasten your seatbelts.
Launch sequence.
Launch sequence activated.
Launch sequence activated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo! Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Launchcast. God, I love this music. This is your favorite podcast theme music. You guys have to admit that. Episode 109 entitled 3 Feet from Bold. And it is a very, very special episode today. I am so excited. And before we do our intro, thank you for joining us today. I am the launch dad himself, George Andriopoulos, bringing you your favorite podcast on the planet. Don't try and hide it. You know it's true, guys. And we are talking about all of my favorite things in the world. We are talking about leadership. We're talking business, life, and growth. And we're doing it all. Fabrizio, do you know why we're talking about that? I'm talking about it because it's my show, buddy. With us today, episode 109, 3 Feet from Bold. I'm going to bring you on screen now. Dr. Greg S. Reid, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Absolutely, and the crowds go wild. Number 9, baby!
I love it. Dr. Greg Reid. I'm going to do the brief bio here, and I'll make it as brief as possible because, man, you've got some stuff. Dr. Greg S. Reid is a filmmaker, motivational keynote speaker, best-selling author, and the CEO of several successful corporations. His prior books include 3 Feet from Gold, Stickability, The Tokens, The Millionaire Mentor, Positive Impact, co-authored with Charlie Tremendous Jones. He received his honorary PhD in literature. In addition, his work has appeared in, I don't even know if I have the right number here. I've heard an additional 30 books, an additional 50 books. I mean, you tell me, man. As well as FHM, Ebony, Sky Mall, Rolling Stone, GQ. He has been featured on local and nationally syndicated programs across the country. Reid currently runs the Forum's recommended mastermind Secret Knock. He's also the creator and producer of the internationally acclaimed films Pass It On, 3 Feet from Gold, and he produced the film Wishman, which is incredible, by the way, and we'll talk about that, based on the life of Make-A-Wish Foundation co-founder Frank Shankowitz, and it is currently signed to a deal with Netflix. Dude.
What, that's just Tuesday. What are you talking about?
Man, you are doing your thing, man. And that's what this is all about. I know we've chatted in the past about a few things, but I really respect what you do in so many ways because for me, at the level I'm at in my career right now, I get it, man. And we'll talk about that, but I get what this whole servant leadership thing is about. It's for me, it's so important to follow in the footsteps of leaders like you because servant leadership brings a whole different perspective to the world. It really, really does. So thank you for being here, and we'll just jump right in because we have limited time today, and we want to make every second count. First question, man, the question we always ask every guest on this show.
How do I keep so good looking with this beard like that?
How do you keep so good? How did you know? So you are a fan of the show. I knew it. Greg, are you a leader?
Of course I'm a leader.
So what,
you lead by example. It's not the words you say, it's the actions that you take. And, everyone's seen all the bumper stickers, but the bottom line is staying positive in the form, when things have adversity around you isn't a sign of naivety, it's a sign of true leadership. And I call it relaxed intensity. And what that means is, like, if the ship's going down and the captain starts running around freaking out, then everyone else does. But if you have that relaxed intensity and can help everyone get off the boat, chances are everyone gets off safe. And so the whole idea for me is that's the principle I live my life by.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit more about leadership. What is your definition of a leader? In terms of, you're in a certain position that you've put yourself in and you've earned, but this thing is about unconventional leadership, right? The reason I started this podcast is because I want people to understand out there, the people that have the stories like you and I have, like, not everybody comes from wealth, right? And so we had to earn what we have right now. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand how to connect those dots. So if you're speaking to somebody like that, what is your definition of leadership?
Well, first we got to define that there's two different types of leadership, right? So one of it is paid leadership. So for example, you can run a corporation, you have all of your employees following you and you're the leader of that group, but that's paid leadership. And then there's earned leadership. And it's by the actions you take, the vision that you create, and that's the format that I like to live my life by. Types of leadership. The realities are that people will do more for a cause than they'll do for money. So every single business or entity that I start, I create a cause, a vision around it. And then I bring on the people that share that vision, and together we make it happen. It's a we society rather than a me generation. And so the whole concept, and at least the way that I look at things, is to get people to follow the vision just as excited as you are to see it come through. So that's what we do.
Yeah. So that team vision, a lot of people have a hard time understanding what that team vision means, bringing other people into your success with you, being a leader and making other people successful alongside you. I love that. I read a great interview from 2018 from Thrive Global where you were asked what your backstory was. You responded, the typical beach kid who cannot spell and has dyslexia becomes a best-selling international author. No big deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here's the funny thing. So I've been published now in 96 books, 45 languages, have an honorary PhD and a star on the Walk of Fame in Las Vegas Strip for being an author, but I can't read, write, spell, dyslexic. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So I learned early on that to get what you want, you surround yourselves with people that are getting the results you want. So when I want to be a best-selling author, I just went to Barnes and Noble and I bought every best-selling book. I didn't buy, get the best reading, the best spoken word, because that wasn't what I was interested. I want to be a best-selling author. And I called those people up and said, well, you teach me your system. And I followed their system, and here we are today. And as long as we're following the successful actions of those who are getting the results that we want for ourselves, we add our own spin, and then you can do it for yourself.
Yeah. Help me connect the dots, man. I mean, you're talking about being dyslexic. You're talking about not being a great student when you were younger. Talk to me about the mindset of young Greg Reid.
Well, I always had a mom who told me, son, you can do anything you want in life. And I was crazy enough to believe it. So every single thing I attempted, I went in it thinking that I will succeed. Some people say, I'll give it a shot. I just expected to do well. And to me, the whole idea is stickability. It's not giving up 3 feet from gold like you're doing the introduction for. So many people give up right before the miracle happens. Look, the Super Bowl is going to be this Sunday. I guarantee the final thing that wins the Super Bowl will be that 1 foot into the end zone, that 3 feet. That's what separates most people. And for myself, it's going that extra mile when everyone else will give up.
Yeah. Yeah. I read a great quote from that same article where your dad said to you, you need to go to college, son. You will never make a living talking to people. And here you are, right? Did you, are you like me where you just did that to prove him wrong?
No, it's what I wanted to do. So I was 17. I left at home and he goes, no, got to go to college. We'll send you anywhere you want to go. And I says, nah, I want to get into sales marketing. This is what I want to do. And I remember I was leaving. He goes, well, you can't live here. I said, okay. So I took my pillow, like the scene out of the Jerk movie. And I was leaving and he goes, son, you're never going to make money talking to people. And I went, fair enough. And then I think it was the second year I made 6 figures in sales, and I sent him a copy of my W-2 and said, hey, dear dad, remember when you said, and now it's a running joke in the family. But you know what? When I went to go start the new business and I left that, doing the sales and I started my own business, they questioned me. But then as soon as that was successful and I sold it for millions of dollars, they didn't question me. Yeah. And then after a period of time, every crazy scheme I come up with, now no one questions me because they know that I'll make it come true. Look, when Frank, you'd mentioned the founder, I sat him down in one of my interviews and I said, what was your wish? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you're the founder of Make-A-Wish. What did you ask for? And he said, no one ever asked me. I says, well, I'll grant your wish. Anything you want, Lamborghini, whatever, I'll give it to you. And he says, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids know I did something. So he signed over his life rights. I said, just know, I've never made a movie. He says, I know you'll make it happen. So it took me 6 years, millions of dollars, everything I could. And now we were on the ballot for the Oscars this year, and we're trending worldwide on Netflix, all from my little house here in Carlsbad, because I sought people that have won Oscars, that have done this, and I asked them for counsel. They gave it to me. I spun it, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. We're actually going to get into that story a little bit later in the interview. But incredible. And by the way, I had a conversation with Frank, who you connected us a couple of weeks ago. We had a conversation, and I spoke to him the day after my wife and I watched Wishman. And wow, man, that touched me in a lot of ways, and I'll talk about it as we go on. So you're out of the house. You take your pillow and leave, and you start.
I'm out of here.
You start your success. So I read that from the ages of 20 to 40, you had one job, and that was selling promotional items to businesses over the phone.
I was a telemarketer. Hey, Bob, glad I got you. Listen, calling everyone. Today's the last day of a huge inventory closeout. Everything's got to go, right? So this is what I did for 20 years of my life. And I ended up working my way up to every company I did until finally I started my own version of that called Work Smart, because I didn't want to work hard. I wanted to be at the beach by 3 o'clock. So I started a company called Work Smart, and it grew into a little mini juggernaut, and I sold it. And then accidentally I fell into the personal development space.
Yeah. So what was the impetus for that once you moved on from selling promotional items?
Impotent? I never said I was impotent.
That's a different show. That's the After Dark show here. So, 20 to 40, you're selling promotional items, and then you start your own agency. What was that spark?
Well, it's interesting. I just had that aha where I kept saying, I'm making other people everywhere, every company I kept going to, I would go in when they're making, like, say, 500,000 a year, and then they're making millions a year by the time, I was done working with them. Same one. I went, hey, light bulb, maybe I could go do that for myself since I've got the system down. And basically I went all in. I remember I sold my cars, and I did everything I had to do to literally go and give this thing a shot. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made. And it seems like every great move I ever made was based where I was not afraid to lose. And I think that's where strength comes from. It's like one of those things, if you're fighting a holy war and someone's not afraid to die, you don't have a lot of leverage against them. And so for myself, I literally burn the boats, and I go to the direction, and I won't give up until it's done.
Yeah. We talk a lot on this show about something that I call a spark moment. It's these moments in life where you don't necessarily know in that moment, but you look back and you go, yeah, that was a pivotal moment. Something happened, whether it was good or bad, that changed the course of my life. And so for me, and I know we've talked a little bit, but for me, I was like this corporate schmuck in the first half of my career that only cared about money, only cared about bonuses. And I attained what I attained at great cost. It cost me a marriage when I had 2 little kids at home. It cost me friendships, and I found myself in just place where I was just a puddle of just nothing. And I was like, I need to make a change. I need to really start this over the right way and become the man that I always knew that I could be, and the father that I always knew I could be. And so when that sort of shifted for me, and I started that change, and I focused just on my kids and building my business life around my personal life and around my family, that's when success came. And subsequently, the thought of servant leadership, which we talked about a little bit. Was there a particular moment where you kind of said, it's time to do this for myself? I'm tired of working for other people.
Yeah. So I'm 32 years sober guy. So I haven't had a drink or illegal drug in 32 years. And what's really interesting is it says on the little token over here, it says, to thine own self be true. And that was a huge aha for me. Door number 2, and for business, I remember I was working in a corporation. I was running a very large corporation. One of these, I was making these guys rich. And I had a corner office. I had them build 2 steps up to get into my office. And then I put a giant boardroom table as my desk. And I put a little chair in front, just like you see at the Wall Street type of thing. And this 18-year-old girl, I don't know her name, I don't know who she is, but she changed my life. She walked in, she came up a couple steps, she goes, Mr. Reid, is this your office? I go, yeah. And she goes, is that your giant desk? And she goes, yeah. I go, yeah. She looked out the window, she goes, is that your Ferrari out there? And I go, sure is. This is my 3-piece suit. And she goes, man, She goes, your dick must be that big. and I looked at her, I go, young lady, I don't know if we've ever met. I go, but you just changed my life. And I go, I thank you. And she walked out. I got on the phone and I called the people. I said, will you take this desk out? I changed my clothes. That day changed everything. And that was my aha moment where I went, man, I was living this dream that I saw in the movies. Are you sending a text and letter to your uncle, or what's going on over there?
Sorry, there's a little bit of interference there. I didn't catch the last 10 seconds.
Oh, it was amazing. I just told the meaning of life and where Bigfoot is.
I knew it, damn it. All right, so I'm sure they caught that on the cast though, so we'll fix that in editing later. I want to talk about your businesses a little bit, and then move on to some more stuff. So, as you mentioned, you're the founder and former CEO of WorkSmart, which is an innovative advertising firm. You sold the company in 2004, and you're currently the CEO of Millionaire Mentor and The Secret of Happiness LLC, right?
And side by side, and I mean, there's 6, 7 different corporations, I guess. There's 333 Films, Wishman. There's all kinds of them. Sierra Capital, R&D. So yeah, so it's interesting. And I have what I call a secret weapon. Her name is Shannon Parsons, and she basically is my one person I go to, and then she oversees everything for me. So I give direction to one person who then goes and gives direction to others. Yeah,
I love that. I want to sort of get into the story of how you and I met, and then what we'll do is we'll cut the live cast, because as everybody knows here, we do a live cast for the first half-ish of the show. We play a little bit of Just a Tip, right? Give them a little bit, and then they come back next Monday morning when we release the full episode of the podcast. So I want to tell this story. We'll cut off. We'll end the live show, and then you guys can catch the rest. How Greg and I met. So as a lot of you know, I am the executive producer of TEDx Farmingdale. I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker myself and a keynote speaker. And so I had a big calling to do this TEDx Farmingdale thing and put this event together. And what was funny was when we opened up applications, we got applications from so many different people. I mean, we had huge speakers there. We had Scott Schmarin, who is a world-renowned hypnotist, and he's been on Howard Stern multiple times. He's been on Oprah. We had Peter DeWitt, educational speaker. And then we had people that were brand new, that were never on a stage before. And so I met an individual months and months earlier who interviewed me on his small social media interview show. And we kept in contact, and I knew this guy had some drive. And he would always tell me that his goal in life, his dream in life, was to be a best-selling author and a TEDx speaker. And he told me the story about how he had the sleepover that changed his life, which subsequently his TEDx was about, where he reached out to you through your website. You called him 5 minutes later and said, how can I be of service? You invited him out to the house. You had him pay his own way so that he can invest in his future, but you offered him to stay over at your house. And he did that, and it changed his life. And so he started really, really improving in what he was doing in his life, and you really mentored him through that. And so he applied to my TEDx. And, you know, I'll be honest, and I was honest with him, in terms of application and of course, skill level at the time.
Pedigree.
Yeah, his pedigree. He shouldn't have been on a TEDx stage at the time, but I said, hey, man, if you're going to put the work in like you've been doing for the last few years, I will work with you personally. I'll help you write this thing. I will rehearse with you, whatever you got to do. And he said, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so it was a rough road. But once we crossed over that hill and I could see that he was really going to do it and do it well, I reached out to you. I'd never spoken to you, and I reached out through your website too. And I said, hey, man, I really just want you to know that you mentored this guy and he's doing it. And if that were me, I would want to know. And sure enough, an hour later, my phone rings and it's, how can I be of service? That really stuck out to me, man, especially with the success that you've had. It was just so interesting how it was that relationship instantly when you called me. I knew who you were as a leader right away, because a person that's not a servant leader, they don't do that. They don't have time for something like that. And you followed up and you kept in contact and you made sure that his talk went over well. That was a huge deal to me in seeing that, because that's really how I try and operate. Can you talk for a minute about, first of all, before we get further into his journey, can you talk about why that's your first instinct? Why is that your reflex? It's your signature in your email. How can I be of, it's not how can I be of service. It's
How may I be of contribution?
how may I be of contribution, right. So talk about that.
So,
why is that the reflex?
well, there's a book out there, Gladwell. It's all the thing about blink, right? And you know instantly when you meet someone whether there's something there or not. And I believe that every single person I'm going to meet knows something I don't know. So whether they're a homeless person or they're a billionaire, they're going to know something that I don't know. So I always come from a student standpoint. And what happens is it opens up your eyes and your relationships to a whole new level. It's kind of interesting. I started doing these masterminds called Wake Up and Crush It, where people come and they can stay overnight and we beat each other up. But it's also about tough love. So I filmed last week a TV show, which is my pilot, called Tough Love. And the concept is so many people say they're willing to do whatever and they want it, but they're not willing to take the actions. So what I do is I force young entrepreneurs and I give them a series of actionable steps. And if they follow through and take action with it, then I open up my door and my Rolodex to everyone I can to help them see their dream come true, just like people did for me. Yeah. Remember, Napoleon Hill, when he got the opportunity from Andrew Carnegie to write Think and Grow Rich, he had to offer to work for free for 20 years to meet all these people to go on that journey. And a lot of people don't know that Mr. Carnegie made that offer to 250 men before Napoleon Hill, but he was the first person to say yes and accept it. Everyone else had an excuse, a bad case of the one size, like I'll do that once I get the big break or get the kids out of the house. So I like to reward action because I believe it's the action and the law of attraction that makes your dreams come true. Think it, feel it, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I want to get into the rest of this story, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the live show now, guys. Thank you for joining us. You got to catch the rest of this. Next Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, episode 109 gets released. And we had a bonus this week. Tomorrow morning, we will be releasing episode 108, which is Mamba Out, the Kobe Bryant tribute. Really, really great episode. Totally different format. There's no interviews. It was me and the camera. So thanks.
Hey, wait.
Yes.
Before we cut out, let's do a little plug for Secret Knock. We got it coming up in March, 25th and 26th. So people looking here, go to secretknock.co and check us out.
Yeah, we're talking about that second half as well. It's going to be in the show notes on the Facebook Live, guys, the links for this, and it's going to be in the podcast show notes. So thanks for joining us, guys. Come back Monday. See you later.
Launch sequence terminated.
Into the black hole.